Good morning. Welcome back to Bookie Monsters. My name is PK. This channel is called Bookie Monsters because we are here to read all the books and find out about new books. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we talk about the new releases of the week. And recently on Thursdays and Fridays, we talk about September. If you're looking for some themed books, kind of loud. And just to try to promote the reading of that type of book. Hi, Mary, bidding August adieu. As I say, good morning. Hard to believe another month under our belt, onto September and hopefully cooler weather and some rain. We need it so badly. Oh, yeah, I bet there are places that would love to send you some. We had a very wet beginning to our summer, but as usual, it does get very hot and dry out, which then makes for some problems. But yeah, I'm so ready for fall. Apparently this music channel is too. Look at the pumpkins. So I was recently asked about what is Spy versus Spy September, and if I would do something about that. So we'll talk a little bit about that and then look at some other options, I think, in the time that we have this morning. So I my first love in books is the historical mystery of just about any era, from Greeks and Romans up to about the 1950s. Um, but I do enjoy the spy fiction. And what I would maybe describe it to somebody who is new to this subgenre of the crime fiction type of books is, you know how domestic thrillers have gotten really popular, domestic suspense books, really popular lately? And that is the suspense oriented within a family, a group of friends, and so forth. I would describe the spy thriller, espionage thriller, whatever term you want to use there, suspense, is the action, the adventure is centered more on saving the world, saving a person of importance. Um, it is sort of it's a offshoot of the quest story that I prefer, but in this case, it's on the scale of not necessarily for king and country, but saving as the Mad Magazine cartoons, if you're old enough to remember those, and what I use for my logo for the Spy versus Spy, that cartoon of the spies were the two adversaries were identical. One was white, one was black. And a lot of the classic spy novels are written white versus black type of morality. We are the good guys, they are the bad guys, bent on destroying the world, and we must stop them and save the world. Of course, more nuanced stories get into a more gray area and so forth. But that's what I like about it, and I have read them over the years. Of course, I've always say my favorite book growing up was Harriet the Spy. I absolutely adored that book. What spurred me to appreciate them more now was a book that I read last year, Alias Emma. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, Spy versus Spy, and the cool thing is, whatever your preferred flavor of reading, there is a spy adventure story written for you. If you prefer, and I think what people think about with spy books are the classic authors, um, and books like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Spy Who Came in from the Cold, and Cold War type of stories, which definitely that was a field mined a lot and great stories. But in my mind, my connotation, and I'm sure there are for other people, is that they were rather dry. But you have to think about when these books were written. If you think of the romance books or of that era also written back then, they were also dry. To me, that means very wordy, lots of description, whereas writers these days are encouraged and find an audience for a story that's a little bit more snappy. We don't need all the details. We we don't have the time for the details like it used to be when you could really unfold the story and describe the room and go into philosophical uh, thoughts. Whereas now it needs to be a little bit more streamlined. So if you want to read a classic spy novel, there are options there too. But that I think is a connotation, and I hope to change that thought that these are dry and boring and always about more war, military, um, or and so forth. So, anyway, um, that is. I was looking up sort of the definition of spy books yesterday, and I had a cheat sheet. I left it at work. So maybe tomorrow I'll remember to bring it. And they do say some very good words about that. But I think, hi Deborah. Yeah, no kidding. Um, I think that promoting this type of book just expands our reading repertoire, shall we say. So long story short, if you are new to the spy subgenre, where do you start? There's a lot out there, and I've been showing you a lot. But really, where would I jump in at if I were brand new to reading this type of book? And I've touched on these books before, but that was a couple weeks ago. And if you're just tuning in and only have about 10 minutes to watch this, here's what I would recommend. A really, really excellent spy suspense book is Alias Emma by Ava Glass. This came out last year. It is not a large book. It's only 289 pages, so you're not investing a whole lot of time and so forth. Um, this one I would kind of describe as the main character is kind of a female James Bond. She's an agent for a private British agency that works with MI5 and MI6. Um, and so let me read the description. Nothing about Emma Makepeace is real, not even her name. A newly minted secret agent, Emma's barely graduated from basic training when she gets the call for her first major assignment. Eager to serve her country and prove her worth, she dives in headfirst. Emma must covertly travel across one of the world's most watched cities to bring the reluctant son of Russian dissidents into protective custody, so long as the assassins from the motherland don't find him first. With London's famous Ring of Steel hacked by the Russian government, the two must cross the city without being seen by hundreds of thousands of CCTV cameras that document every inch of the city's streets, alleys, and gutters. Buses, subways, cars, and trains are out of the question. Traveling on foot and operating without phones or bank cards that could reveal their location or identity, they have 12 hours to make it to safety. This will take all of Emma's skills of disguise and subterfuge. But when Emma's handler goes dark, there's no one left to trust, and just one wrong move will get them both killed. They're racing across London. They have 12 hours. They're being chased. They can't use they can't be seen on the streets. There's cameras every single inch of London, and they have been compromised by the Russians. So it is a thriller. I read it in one sitting. This is a great place to start. The second book, The Traitor, comes out in September. So again, this would be a great place to start, and it's not a long uh, commitment in terms of reading. If you are more into the cozy side of reading, then I would recommend this series by Lauren Willig. The first book is The Secret History of the Pink Carnation. This is a dual time story, timeline story, present, and goes back to the time of the Scarlet Pimpernel, so the French Revolution. Um, Actually, it's more Napoleon, I think. But each book, there's 12 in this one, is a different secret agent, but the present timeline is a continuing arc. Um, it says, nothing goes right for Eloise. The one day she wears her new suede boots, it rains cats and dogs. When subways stop short, she's always the one thrown into someone's lap. Plus, she's had more than her share of misfortune in the way of love. In fact, ever since she realized romantic heroes are a thing of the past, she decided it's time for a fresh start. Setting off for England, Eloise is determined to finish her dissertation on that dashing pair of spies, the Scarlet Pimpernel and the Purple Gentian. But what she discovers is something the finest historians have missed: the secret history of the Pink Carnation, the most elusive spy of all time. As she works to unmask this obscure spy, Eloise stumbles across answers to all kinds of questions. Like, how did the Pink Carnation save England from Napoleon? What became of the Scarlet Pimpernel and the Purple Gentian? And will Eloise Kelly escape her bad luck and find a living, breathing hero all of her own? You will find many of these secret agents are females, so if you're interested in that aspect as well, really a great place to start if you are interested in more of the cozy type of story. If you want the flavor of like MI5, the TV series that was in the UK brought over here, it was called Spooks over there. If you want more of the, it's not quite classic, but more organization rather than a single rogue type agent. This is a great series. The first book is called At Risk. It's by Stella Remington, who herself was the head of MI5. So she knows what she's talking about. And this features the main character is a female in MI5. And this says a terrorist is targeting Britain. And to make matters worse, it's an invisible MI speak for someone traveling under a British passport. Virtually impossible to find before it's too late. The job falls to Liz Carlyle, the most resourceful counter-terror agent in British intelligence. Tracking down this invisible is a challenge like none she has faced before. It will require all her hard-won experience, to say nothing of her intelligence and courage. Drawing on her own years as Britain's highest-ranking spy, Stella Remington gives us a story that is tautly drawn, smart, and suspenseful from first to last. 10 books in this series. It's terrorism, counterterrorism. They have perceived that there's a threat against uh, Britain or a person, and is their task to figure out who who is behind this. Why are they doing this? And if you are more of the younger audience type interest, then a great starting point. Again, we've gone over these, but these, if I had to name 4 books to start with, these are they. These are them. City Spies by James Ponti. There's 5 in this series. Sarah Martinez is a hacker. She recently broke into New York City foster care system to expose her foster parents as cheats and lawbreakers. However, instead of being hailed as a hero, Sarah finds herself facing years in juvenile detention facility and banned from using computers for the same stretch of time. However, Mother, a British spy who not only gets Sarah released from jail, but also offers her a chance to make a home for herself within a secret MI6 agency. Operating out of a base in Scotland, the City Spies are 5 kids from various parts of the world. When they're not attending the local boarding school, they're honing their unique skills, such as sleight of hand, breaking and entering, observation, and explosives. All of these allow them to go places in the world of espionage where adults can't. Before she knows what she's doing, Sarah is headed to Paris for an international youth summit, hacking into a rival school's computer to prevent them from winning €1 million, dangling 30 feet off the side of a building, and trying to stop a villain, all while navigating the complex dynamics of her new team. So these are places to start if you are not knowing where to jump into the pool. These are great places to jump into the pool. In fact, I was looking at my possibles to read this in September, and I realized I hadn't read the 10th and last book in that Stella Remington series. So that one's going to be on my TBR. So how do you find these books other than looking at my, sorry, my nose itches. Um, Looking at my vlogs? I use keywords when I'm looking up books. Certain keywords you can use, yes, spy fiction. You can use the keyword espionage, uh, counter-espionage, counter-terrorism, secret agencies, um, and if you want a certain flavor to them, so use those keywords, and humor and romance, things like that. We're going to look at some more options today. I'm going to go into some more of the not classic, because to me that is like John Le Carr. I don't know, never know how, and Alan First and Ken Follett and those, but more of the agency type of stories. Um, Slow Horses is a great series. This one gets a lot of critical acclaim. It's by Mick Herron. There's 8 in this series. I've not read the first one yet. It has been on my TBR for quite a while, and I keep meaning to read it. And it looks like they've made it into a TV series on Apple TV, which I don't get. But Gary Oldman, oh my God, great actors in this, it looks like. So this one is Slow Horses. London, England. Slow House is where washed up MI5 spies go to while away what's left of their failed careers. The Slow Horses, as they're called, have all disgraced themselves in some way to get relegated there. Maybe they botched an op so badly they can't be trusted anymore. Maybe they got in the way of an ambitious colleague and had the rug yanked out from under them. Maybe they just got too dependent on the bottle, not unusual in this line of work. One thing they have in common, though, is that they want to be back in the action. And most of them would do anything to get there, even if it means having to collaborate with one another. When a young man is abducted and his kidnappers threaten to broadcast his beheading live on the internet, and the slow horses see an opportunity to redeem themselves. But is the victim really who he appears to be? And that's something else I really love about the spy novel. It isn't it is the quest, but it's also the puzzle solving side of it. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a journalist really badly because of All the President's Men, the book and movie. And when I started college, my first year, I was a journalism major and discovered it was all bad news and really not what I had romanticized, I guess. And I went into a different field. I'm glad because of what journalism is these days. But watching All the President's Men years later, and I think this was somewhat even recently within the last 10 years, I realized it wasn't the journalism I loved about it. It was the puzzling of all the pieces, talking to people, figuring out what the big picture is, and that's what I like about spy stories. The quest and the puzzling of it. I think we all are, and some days more than others. So let's go back here. Another one that has been gaining popularity, shall we say, or attention is this series called The Gray Man by Mark Greaney. Greaney? I'm not sure how to pronounce that either. There's 13 books in this series, but the first one was made into a movie, and that's why it's getting some attention. Starring Ryan Gosling, I have, and Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. I guess I do. I should. It sounds interesting. Um, but that's why it's getting some attention these days. But there are 13 books in this series. To those who lurk in the shadows, he's known as the Gray Man. He is a legend in the covert realm, moving silently from job to job, accomplishing the impossible, and then fading away. And he always hits his target, always. But there are forces more lethal than Gentry in the world, forces like money and power. And there are men who hold these as the only currency worth fighting for. In their eyes, Gentry has just outlived his usefulness. But court Gentry is going to prove that for him, there's no gray area between killing for a living and killing to stay alive. And that is another, say, subgenre. The not just the lone agent, the more of an assassin angle to it, which isn't necessarily what I'm interested in. Um, but it's a jumping off point for a lot of these kinds of stories, which is okay. The bell has rung, but as I was talking about this, I was also thinking that what put me on this path, I would say, also is I was a kid in the 70s and a teen in the 80s. But back in the 70s, there was a lot of reruns on TV because there wasn't a whole lot of original TV being produced. And I loved Wild Wild West. James West in that blue suit. Oh, my little young heart. I loved him, but I also loved the disguises that Artemis would do. And every episode was saving the world, and James always got caught and had to get free. And I just loved that kind of story. So I was programmed kind of young to maybe like that kind of story. Tomorrow we'll go over some more Spy versus Spy things. Tomorrow is the beginning of Spy versus Spy September. It's September 1st tomorrow. So I hope you are inspired to read. Just at least pick up one and give it a shot. They can be fun. So we are out of time. The bell rang. It is Thursday, August 31st. I hope that you have a great day and you choose happiness over hate, love over fear. I hope you read good books because there are good books out there, and you should not waste your time on something that is not working for you. You don't get good person points suffering through a book you're not enjoying. And as the banner says, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom, nom, nom. I am doing reading sprints tonight at 6:05 Mountain Time, 8:05 Eastern Time. We'll be going for 2.5 hours. Bring your own book, bring your own snacks if you want to. You can work on a project if you don't want to read or listen to an audiobook, or you can just meditate, close your eyes, and get at peace while you're listening to some really nice sounds there. So I will hope to see you tonight. I hope to see you tomorrow. And thank you so much for showing up. If you like what you see, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell because you never know when things are going to pop up. Um, yes, we'll see you. Oh, thank you guys so much. Have a great Thursday. Thanks so much. God bless.